Hi, welcome to the after work video. I'm going to be starting where I left off last time. Where I left off that last time, I accidentally upgraded the server, but I couldn't get it to downgrade. I was able to get my lab up and running, but I had to completely wipe it and start new with 2.2.8, and I'm hoping I don't do that same thing in the future where I upgrade my server by accident. But if I do, I'll just have to wipe it and recreate it again until I figure out a better way to do that. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments a better way I can get up and running. So yeah, I'm going to be so separating these out because these are the differences between the videos. So this will be the third video in this series on system features, including NTP, SNMP, and AAA. Unfortunately, at this point, I've only covered NTP, and I'm not even finished with that at all because my server tanked, so I needed to spend some time setting that up again. So unfortunately, I didn't get very far in this topic, even though I'm on the third video right now. But as you can see, there's lots of good news. So I've got this Ubuntu Docker guest up just as a proof of concept for DHCP. So DHCP was able to resolve, and not only that, I can now ping the outside world. This was done because of following those instructions from GNS3 for a cloud bridge. Yeah, right here. So GNS3 ESXi cloud bridge. Those are the instructions. Well, I'll demo how to get to that. So if you just go to gns3.com, then you go to free download. You go to download the GNS3 VM, and then learn more about the GNS3 VM. Then you can go to, I think it was, oh, I actually forget how I found that. I thought it was, oh yeah, it is. So yep. So this is where. Okay. Well, never mind. I thought that's where it was. So that's interesting. Well, yeah, I thought you could just go, like, how did I get to it just now? So this is downloading the VM. There should be more information about setting it up. But anyways, I'm sure there is a way. So yeah, so getting started Linux. Let's just do a search for ESXi and try to find that documentation I use. Here we go. So yeah, so this is the documentation I used. So let's do that again so I can explain clearly how to find that documentation. You just go to GNS3, then you, instead of clicking on downloads, you click on documentation, and then for me, I'm setting it up on ESXi. So I just typed in ESXi into the search bar, and I see install the GNS3 VM on ESXi. Perfect, that's exactly what I'm doing. And then just as part of the steps down here, there's this cloud node support step to make it so that this works here, where I can ping the outside world. Excuse me just a minute. I'm going to pause the video. Oops, and I wasn't sharing my screen, so I'll share my second screen. Yep, and then I'll re-demo. So I'm screen sharing. I don't know which screen I'm sharing. Okay, I'm sharing screen 2. So I'll do that demo again on how to find the documentation. So if you just go to the GNS3 website here, then you go to documentation, and then type in, for me, I'm installing it on ESXi, so I just typed in ESXi, and yep, so it says install the GNS3 VM on ESXi, perfect. And then following all the steps here, there's an additional step at the bottom for cloud node support. You need to set that up in order to have outside access. Okay, so yep, that's a short explanation of that. Oh, excuse me a minute. Got a fly problem in here, but I'm just taking care of it. So I will be pausing and coming back. All right, and I'm back. So, yep, so now I'll be able to synchronize with the NTP server online. So let's do a NTP server IP. Okay, and then we're going to need to, let's hook it up to router 2. Another cool thing I did is when I edit the config template, I changed the default name format. So now whenever I create a new one, it's going to be R1, R2, R3. And then I'm using lowercase for the forwarding planes. So that's really nice and convenient. So I haven't figured out how to change the positioning, but I think these icons as a whole are fine. Another thing to note, kind of a pro tip for GNS, is you don't want to use black icons. I was using black icons before, and that's because when you click on it, it will change to black. So if you have a black icon, you won't be able to tell if you're hovering over it or if it's been clicked on and highlighted already. So you want those icons to change color so you know whether or not they are selected. All right, so I'll go to router 2. Router 1, I'm just going to have up for the help menu, pretty much. Oh, and it looks like, unfortunately, I've encountered the GNS bug where it does not give me the CLI. Let's see if I've got better luck on router 1. Nope, I do not. Okay, so yep, I'm going to need to reboot then. Okay, so I'll try just rebooting the nodes themselves. All right, and I'll be back shortly. All right, so I'm back and I've got the routers booted up again. Yep, so I no longer have that issue where I can't access the CLI. So I'll be putting a DHCP IP on router 2 and setting up NTP. So all of my previous configuration from the first video in this topic is no longer there. So I'm going to start by configuring the syslog messages. So edit system syslog, set file, and then the file is going to be syslog, and I'll just call it messages. And then, yep, and let's go into edit mode, and then set NTP any. Oh, and let's do one more thing. Let's go edit system syslog. Well, before we do that, let's review what was brought up in the first video. So to do that, let's do a monitor start syslog messages, and then we're going to get NTP messages. So let's set up NTP. So edit system NTP, Now we're going to set the remote server. Okay, so we'll go with this first one here. All right, and now we'll get some syslog messages, hopefully. Yep, so there we go. Bunch of syslog messages. So now let's do what I wanted to do before, and I can even just do a quick screenshot of these so we can see the difference. So I'm going to set structured data now. We're going to not enable the brief option because we want to see the difference, but we're going to be now getting NTP syslog messages with this structured data knob toggled to on, and we will see how they look different from when it was toggled off as soon as we get NTP messages. So I can create some artificially just by doing show configuration pipe display set pipe and more pipe match NTP, and then I can go figure private and delete this and then recreate it, and that will create some syslog messages. Might even create some when I delete it. Yep. So it certainly did. But let's get the same messages that we would have gotten here. Okay, so I'm going to expand this out so they don't word wrap. And we'll get the exact same messages we got on the from before. But now we can see the difference since it's got that structured data flag or knob enabled. We've got much better timestamp, I think. I think this timestamp is much more useful. We've also got a whole nother piece of information, and that's the facility and the level of the message combined to give it a priority. So this is the priority of the message you can use to filter a lot easier. Here it's not listed as clearly what the priority is. In fact, it's not listed at all what the priority of the message is. So you really can't do any filtering regarding that. So if you were to do your own Python scripting or anything, you definitely want this format because it would make it a lot easier on you. Let's go one step further and enable that brief knob on it and see how the message is different. So we know this is perhaps, I would say, the worst message format. You really do want that structured data enabled if you're doing any kind of automation efforts or anything. It's a much easier date format, I think, here than it is there. And you get more information. You get the millisecond, and you get the priority of the message. But let's see how it looks different compared to when brief is enabled. Here we go. So set structured data, and now brief. Okay, and yep. So I'm going to commit that. And then in a second commit, I'll enable this again so that we get that same set of messages and see how they differ. Okay, so now we're going to get that same number of messages that we had before. Perfect. And we'll see the difference with that on there. So it looks like it's just a bit less text. We've got the same beginning, but after this double dash here. So we've got that signal no reset message here. It says signal 1 had flags 10. So it looks like they're actually the same. I actually don't see a difference between the two. Yeah, so they're exactly the same whether that brief is on or not. So I think it applies to only particular messages, and these messages aren't affected by it. I'm guessing those messages with the all uppercase identifiers on them would be affected by that brief now, but these are not. Okay, but that's interesting to know. I think it doesn't matter whether you have that brief on or not. And in fact, I would probably recommend that it is on, because you can always just do a help syslog and read more information about a message. I think to me, it would make more sense to have it brief and just use that, because the main thing that you need to know is just the fact that a particular kind of message happened. You don't need to know all the details unless you would like to go and look them up using another method. Okay. All right, so yep, it looks like we're having problems still, and it's because I did not set up the DHCP address. I don't even have it cabled up here, so let's do that. Okay, and now I'll need to configure the IP address. So nothing yet. Aha, so we got an IP address. Now let's see if, because I've followed that extra step. Yep, so I followed that extra step in the GNS3 documentation, and now I can ping my default gateway. So now I should also be able to ping Google. Yep, so that NTP, hopefully we'll see some messages for that, or I can just do a show NTP status. And so I don't see anything. Let's look for associations. Okay, so we've got an association, but it looks like it's in a init mode. I don't know if that's proper mode. Let's try a different NTP server. Or let's see if I can ping that NTP server. Nope, I can't ping the NTP server, so that's not going to be a valid NTP server. Oh, but this is interesting because it's ntp-b nist.gov. So it was able to reach that. Let's see if there's one I can use here. Let's use, yeah, let's use this. communication prohibited by filter. So it just looks like that NTP server doesn't allow things. All right, hopefully this works better. Yep, so here's my messages. So we're getting that fake time. Aha, now we're resetting the time. So it seems to be working a lot better. Yep, and synchronized. Yep, so on the IP, it's got a stratum. So let's do a show NTP status again. Not anything too fancy there. Let's do a show NTP associations. So now we're more in business. Refresh 1. So step, I guess I'm not sure if that's what we need it to be. Let's look at let's pull up R1 and look at the unbox documentation some more. So help apropos NTP pipe match, or yeah, NTP, and now we've got all of these. So I'll do pipe match begins with help. There we go. So here's all the help we can get. Topic is more of a long explanation. So let's see here. Can we get, so we did server was the command we did. I wonder if we can do a help just on server. Let's just do the help here again. This is what we looked at before. Let's do a help on peer. Huh. Aha, so now it just took some time. So now it looks like it's better. So let's go back and look at this. So yep, it was step, 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 and then it moved over. So I think it's good now. It just took some time. So let's do a show system uptime. Oh, we've got the time source is local clock there. That's interesting. I need to take a break, so I'll just pause the recording and hopefully come back as soon as I can. All right, and I'm back. I just got a killer stomach ache out of nowhere, so I just need to take a hour lay down, but I feel good now. So let's do let's make sure that this NTP is still going. Looks like the time source is still the local clock, which I'm surprised by. So let's go back into that hierarchy, configure private, edit, system NTP, set. So if we do a set peer? Well, I guess I'll follow a guide if I can find one. So yeah, here's the guide from before. So configuring to operate in client mode. So you would do the boot server, trusted key, specify the address of the system acting as the time server. You must specify an address, not a host name. That's interesting because I did set a host name. To include an authentication key. So, okay. All right, so here's, I guess I'll go up here to configuring NTP. So that's when it first boots up. But can optionally set the time zone. Yeah, so it looks like it's pretty straightforward what you need to do. You just, yeah, it should be, this init is interesting. Okay, so the IETF defined the network time protocol, NTP, to synchronize the clocks of computer systems connected to each other over a network. Most large networks have an NTP server that ensures that time on all devices is synchronized, regardless of device location. If you use one or more NTP servers on your network, ensure you include the NTS server address in your Junos OS configuration. When configuring the NTP network time protocol, you can specify which system on the network is the authoritative time source or time server, and how time is synchronized between systems on the network. To do this, you configure the router, switch, or security device to operate in one of the following modes. Client mode. In this mode, the local router or switch can be synchronized with the remote system, but the remote system can never be synchronized with the local router or switch. Symmetric active mode. In this mode, the local router or switch and the remote system can synchronize with each other. You use this mode in a network in which either the local router or switch or the remote system might be a better source of time. Note, symmetric active mode can be initiated by either the local or the remote system. Only one system needs to be configured to do so. This means that the local system can synchronize with any system that offers symmetric active mode without any configuration whatsoever. However, we strongly encourage you to configure authentication to ensure that the local system synchronizes only with known time servers. Broadcast mode. In this mode, the local router or switch sends periodic broadcast messages to a client population at the specified broadcast or multicast address. Normally, you include this statement only when the local router or switch is operating as a transmitter. Server mode. In this mode, the local router or switch operates as an NTP server. In NTP server node, the Junos OS supports authentication as follows. If the NTP request from the client comes with an authentication key, such as a key ID and message digest sent with the packet is processed and answered based on the authentication key match. If the NTP request from the client comes without any authentication key, the request is processed and answered without authentication. So here's the example. They just have server, and then they have boot server, different things, and then they have the authentication key. So it looks really easy. I'm pretty shocked that I'm not able to get it to work. But it's strange though, because I am able to get it to work. Like if I do show NTP associations, we can see it looks like it's good to go. And then if I do, but the thing is, if I do show NTP status, yeah, I guess I don't. Well, if I do show NTP status, okay. Well, I do have the correct time. Okay, this is just the version here. Okay, so that's not the actual time. The time I'm getting is accurate. Oh, it looks like it's actually. Oh, okay. So this is UTC. So yeah, I'm not sure how that translates, but looks accurate. So let's do a show uptime, show system uptime. All right, so this time source local clock is interesting because I wonder, I'm surprised. Let's do a help apropos on uptime. Yep, and we'll get some help on oops. So it looks like our help apropos, we're only getting the question mark for here. So we can't see what other kinds of time sources could populate in this field. I was thinking maybe NTP would show up here instead of local clock. So one thing I can try to do is set 8. Oh, okay. So here we go. Set date NTP. Perfect. Okay. Well, one thing. Oh, that's interesting. Now it's saying that it's the. Oh, because I don't have my time zone set. So, yep, I would need to change my time zone to have it be accurate. Because right now it says it's the 23rd, but it thinks it's in the wrong time zone. So let's do show system, and then or show. Well, let's learn how to set the time zone. Well, I think it's just because the NTP server I'm using. So here's how you configure time zones, but I think it would still have the wrong thing because the NTP server I am configuring is in the wrong time zone. But I'll definitely try that. This is going to be USA. Okay, so it's going to be America, and then it's going to be Chicago. It's the time zone I'm in. All right, so hopefully that shows system uptime. Looks a little better now. Yep, so now it's saying it's the 22nd. Now that it's got the CDT time zone. Yep, and now it's got so it's not just in UTC. It's in a 24-hour format. So it is 7:11 right now. It was 7:10:54 last time I checked here. So yep, it's exactly perfect. We did need to have that time zone set up properly in order to have an accurate time, and we needed to do that on the device here, even though it is getting pulled back from an NTP server. It doesn't get the time zone from the NTP server, it gets it from the configuration on the Juniper. So it's important that's set up correctly, and it is now. So this might be all I need to say about NTP. Okay, we're already monitoring that. So yeah, it looks like I've got NTP working properly. I guess another thing I can do is, so NTP should be in use all across the network. So I can push out NTP updates from router 2 over to router 1, and router 1 can have NTP, because right now if I do a show NTP status, we got nothing. Show NTP associations, we got nothing. But if I go configure private and I do edit system NTP, now we've got some, yep. So now we've got a bunch of options. The easiest one is probably this broadcast client option. So it'll just listen to any NTP broadcast messages, and then we can set up router 2 to broadcast NTP messages out. Oh, this is interesting. Broadcast or multicast address to use. Can we just use? Oh. So yeah, this isn't exactly going to work because it would need to. Yeah. But I can. I'll set up. So I'll just say that the broadcast network to use will be 10.0.0.3. Then I'll set up, oops, and I accidentally quit there. So I'm going to go back in. Yep, I'm going to 1, unit 0, set family INET address, 10.0.0.1/30, top, commit, quit, and then router 1, I'll have .2, and now hopefully it will be able to intercept those broadcast messages. Excellent. So now I need to wire them up, of course. Okay, and hopefully I can ping. I might need to set up a routing protocol as well. Okay, so I can ping 1, and then my own address is .2. So let's see if the NTP status is different. Now that we're receiving those broadcast messages, it looks like it's thinking quite a bit longer than it was before. Kind of wish I had enabled the, oh, so timed out. Let's enable those syslog messages for it. Okay. We'll do a monitor start on that. Okay, and let's sniff the traffic on the link and see if those are being broadcasted. So nothing yet. Sometimes it takes a while though. We can verify if there is traffic being passed by pinging. Oops, and this is myself, so I've got to ping across the wire. Oh. So yeah, it looks like there is some sort of issue where it's not capturing the traffic. Let's just try it again. Oops, still nothing. Okay, so now we've got traffic there. Not seeing those NTP broadcasts though. So synchronized there, no servers reachable. Not getting any messages here on router 1. The show NTP associations timed out. So do a configure private. I'm hoping this is .2 because it's R2, but it could be .1. It's .1, so that's okay. I'll change this back. Let's do this. Do a delete. And a set for .1. All right. Okay, so now we've got an init. So I think after a while that will resolve, and then we'll have NTP. We don't have the time zone set up yet, so it's going to look a little wonky. It'll say it's tomorrow. In fact, you can see it's already thinking that it's tomorrow because that time set that time zone is wrong. But we can certainly set that. Set system time zone America Central. Quit. Back and look at these. So that's interesting. It looks like it's still not getting the right date. It is in init right now. Let's try the set date NTP. Okay, and now we're getting we're getting actual NTP traffic coming over. We can see it's in blue here. So let's just filter it out for NTP. Okay, so now we're getting the actual traffic. It's going to be UDP for the transport, destination port 123, source port 123. This is version 4. So one thing I would like to do is leap indicator, right? Because if in NTP, if they're out of sync, they're going to one's not going to just instantly jump to be in sync. They're going to slowly sync together. Oh, this looks like this might be talking about leap year though. I guess I'm not sure what that leap indicator is. Okay. All right. So yep, that's NTP. I think I'm gonna end the video here. I would like to look at NTP authentication before moving on from it, but as I constantly say, I can't spend too much time on one thing, so I will need to be moving on to SNMP and AAA as soon as I can. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.